Hello world, welcome to United Cuisines. What if I tell you that there is a Turkish breakfast dish that consists of poached eggs, a garlicky yogurt base, and a big drizzle of a spicy butter sauce? Sounds bizarre, right? Well, I had these Turkish eggs for the first time recently and for sure was blown away by them.
Oh wow.
And I would like you to try them too, so let's make some in this episode. All we need is a few ingredients, such as fresh parsley or alternatively fresh dill, Turkish yogurt, which is a bit more sour and has a firmer consistency than what you can usually get in a Western supermarket. We will moreover need a clove of garlic, a few fresh eggs, unsalted butter, and last but not least, a teaspoon of chili flakes, preferably Aleppo peppers. Let's start with our yogurt base, which should be at room temperature by the time we place our eggs on top. Grab your microplane and start grating the garlic over 200 grams of yogurt. One small clove should be more than enough here, as grated garlic is very pungent and you should use it wisely. And yes, be careful and don't hurt yourself. Alternatively, just use a garlic crusher. Shortly mix in the garlic and start chopping up a handful of washed fresh parsley. You can also use fresh dill, but it has a rather dominating flavor, whereas parsley is milder, which I find goes better with this overall complex dish. Whatever you choose, mix in half of the chopped herbs till everything is well combined and the yogurt smooth and creamy. Set aside and let's go poach our eggs, which, by the way, I've never done before. That's why I would like to try some of the methods suggested on the internet. Let's start with the vortex method, for which we bring the water to a boil, stir it vigorously before placing the egg in there and immediately turn down the heat to low. The circular movement and the centripetal force it creates hinders the egg whites from spreading out in the water and turning all wispy and stringy. Well, to a certain degree, as the vortex doesn't last forever and bubbles created by the boiling water put a spoke into our wheel. And yes, it looked pretty messy to be honest, but the end result wasn't too bad. Although we probably lost around 10 to 20% of the egg whites to the vortex method. Let's try the vinegar method next, for which we add a tablespoon of white vinegar into the boiling water before creating another vortex and turning the heat to low. Gently add the egg and be amazed.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
Overall, you want to cook the eggs for 2 to 4 minutes, depending on how runny you like your yolk, if runny at all. We found a bit less than 3 minutes for our medium-sized eggs was just about right. Grab a spider or slotted spoon and set aside on a plate covered with paper towel or a fancy steaming colander. Alternatively, you can poach your eggs last and directly place them on your serving plate. Before we get to serving these insanely delicious Turkish eggs, let's finish off poaching them all and begin creating the spicy butter sauce, for which we place 40 grams or 2 to 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter into a saucepan and start melting it over medium heat. Give it a few swivels and once the butter is melted and starts to sizzle, drop in a teaspoon of Aleppo chili flakes, which will infuse our butter with a little bit of heat and some fruitiness. Alternatively, you can use ground chilies of your choice and maybe add a pinch of ground cumin or smoked paprika. Whatever you use, you want to give it a good swivel or mix it with a spoon and make sure not to burn the butter. Slightly brown, yes, but not burn. Do this for around 30 seconds, turn off the stove and let's begin assembling our Çılbır, for which we grab a big flat plate, transfer half of the yogurt on it and spread it all over. You want to form a few ridges and valleys that will serve as a riverbed for a golden brown butter sauce. Using a spoon and turning the plate at the same time can be helpful here. Sprinkle some salt on top of the spread. Go ahead and place 2 beautifully poached eggs on top of the yogurt spread and drizzle a tablespoon of the deliciously spicy butter sauce all over. Don't forget to also add some of the chili flakes, which most probably have settled at the bottom of your saucepan. Finally, sprinkle some salt over the eggs and finish off by garnishing your Çılbır with some of the remaining parsley. Oh, and of course, you will need some bread to eat this with. I got a fresh crusty sourdough, but anything should work really as long as you toast it. You most probably want to dip your bread into the yolk first, as this always is a tasty experience. But when you swipe your bread all over the plate and load it with all 3 components, it's simply a mind-blowing sensation. The creamy and mild yogurt mixture perfectly offsets the heat of the spicy, rich butter sauce, which in combination pleasantly stimulate your taste buds that makes this dish an unbeatable breakfast affair. Afiyet olsun.